Kestrel, Blackfeather, most likely. That's what Salty Potatoes is known for. They play that comp so well. The Blackfeather can poke, the Kestrel can poke, they can stop a dive, etc. So I think most likely they'll probably pick the Kestrel and the Blackfeather here, and then Fnatic may end it with either a Koshka or a Cruel, but I think Cruel may come out here as a last pick.
Also, let's just remember that Fnatic loved that Ardent Scarf combo. That's something that we started the entire season with them doing basically every game. They beat G2 with it back when we thought that that was a super close matchup. Could be just a comfort pick that they fall back
Ringo comes out. Wow.
Well, Ringo was not what we
so
were
they're going
expecting.
CP. Oh my god, if they do CP Ringo, that's not good because the Ardent
They do
Vanguard
CP Ringo or
cancels
CP Grumpjaw. Either of the, I think they would have to go double weapon with this.
Oof.
And it may just be because they're expecting a Krull and they want to counter the double weapon with a double weapon of their own.
Yeah, but Crow is so good into Ringo. I mean, Grace could counter the Crow, but if Crow blocks the Grace Holy Nova, and then it's not like Ringo's just not good into Crow here. So maybe Fnatic may play Glaive or Crow, who knows? But it's a very interesting draft from Salty Potatoes. I've never seen them. I know they played Grumpjaw. They did a Grumpjaw captain with Kestrel and Blackfeather, but I've never seen them do Ringo and Grumpjaw. It could work though. You could eat somebody, drop them on the Holy Nova, and then kill them. Ringo ult. There's a lot of combos that Salty Potatoes could do because Grace and Grumpjaw are actually very, very strong together because of that slow. Grace can land the slow, Grumpjaw can then land his slow, and then Grace can then stun.
I think that's why they were okay with picking that if Fnatic were to go for the Krull, because there is so much slow on this team that they could kite out the Krull for days. But it is going to be a Baptiste instead for Fnatic, saying that, okay, you have this composition that you want to try and slow up the Krull. We're not going to go for it then. We're just going to switch things up and take this Baptiste instead.
Yeah, normally they pick Scarf into a Grumpjaw. Baptiste, Grumpjaw is really good into, especially weapon. CP might be a different thing, but weapon Grumpjaw can stand the ground and just blow Baptiste up. So let's see how Salty Potatoes execute this comp.
So how do you play this? Like, obviously this is going to be a different style to when you play the Scarf into a Grumpjaw. How do Fnatic have to play? Are they going for a totally different playstyle to the all-out aggression from game one?
I feel like it has to be because they're not going to have the ability to strip away those living armor stacks anywhere near as quickly as the Scarf would. And so this Grumpjaw suddenly becomes a massive threat into this composition. Baptiste and Vox are both going to be very squishy. And if it's a weapon power Grumpjaw, even a crystal power Grumpjaw early on, like the burst damage is going, he's going to get onto someone and immediately they're going to lose half their health at a minimum. So it's going to be very scary for Fnatic when the engagements come out from Salty Potatoes.
So it's all about kind of waiting for that aggression to be done with, waiting until they can actually counteract that. We'll have to see if they're going to be able to wait this one out. It's time to jump on into this game. Hashtag Vainglory8. Let us know whether you're a fan of the Salty Potatoes or if you want Fnatic to win this one 2-0 on Twitter. But it's time to jump in. So let's get this second game of the second semi-final underway.
Well, the Salty Potatoes put a little spice into this draft, Jackson, bringing in the Grace and the Grumpjaw. And we're going to see the Ringo coming out as well, and as far as I can tell, that doesn't look like starting all over.
No, it does not. Salty Potatoes, this composition is pretty interesting. Obviously, they've got a lot of power on the Grace and the Grumpjaw. Going for the Ringo is interesting, though. If it's Crystal, I don't feel like Crystal necessarily synergizes that well with what they're bringing to the table. But if it's weapon, well, then it's double weapon, and, there's obviously inherent problems with that in terms of itemization. So, yeah, kind of an interesting game. Class to net is doing a thing. Good luck 1v1ing a Grace as an Arden at level 1.
Well, the reason Class is so low, and Net even has a chance to play those kind of games, Tendo had dropped down, and they did this really cool, like, scissor strategical move where they just dropped down, they cut Class off from moving down the bottom of the jungle into the back. So it's really a smart, predictive play from Fnatic. Joker, he's moving in with the Grumpy, he's hangry as well. Ordained, yeah, we'll catch him on the end of that as he did move to the edge of that perimeter. But the Joker and Class, they have advantage here. Palmatoro throws the bad mojo. He's starting to get chunked down a little bit. This is going to be Fnatic forced out of the jungle. Look at the Grumpy, big damage coming out. Palmatoro should be going down. There you go. First blood to the Potatoes. Net Toilette very low as well. You got to wonder, what is he going to do? Do he move up to lane? Do you think about hanging out in the jungle here? Because the Potatoes, they're going to take this jungle.
I don't think you want to hang out in the jungle. There's two gap closers. They can definitely fight you. Palma is back, though.
Oh,
Maybe-
Joker! He's got the turnaround grumpy hangry combo, the Ordained! Not gonna be enough. EU tries to throw the root out to make the big plays. And just a little too late. Palma, he's gonna have the empowered Bad Mojo, and he's able to secure that back there. I think if it wasn't empowered, maybe it would have been contested.
Oh man, this whole chain of events was started by a weird, like, I don't even know how to describe it, like a micro movement from Net. Hold on.
Ordain's down. Nice Vanguard onto Tetno. But look at Joker, he's so tanky. Class trying to hang around and gets the Holy Nova, but should pay for it with his life. This puts Fnatic on the board. 2.5 minutes in, a lot of action. 3 kills already. Sneaky up in the lane. He was just free farming the whole time. Not really contested. He's going to port back and have an item advantage, and it will be that CP Ringo.
Yeah, CP's interesting here. Did Joker get that? He did, so only one camp stolen away by Fnatic. Yeah, that whole fight, I urge you guys to go back and watch the VOD. Net did not run directly backwards. He ran back and then up and then back. And that small amount of time actually meant that he was still in range of Joker's dash. So yeah, that almost didn't happen. Very interesting stuff. I'm not sure what Net was thinking there, what he was trying to do. But still, the fact that they were able to get something off the back of it, the fact that Salty Potatoes stayed a little bit too long, certainly does mean that Fnatic are not at such a deficit that it's necessarily a huge problem. They got to be careful about another fight here, though. Joker wants to keep pressure on.
Joker is pissed off. He's so grumpy. He's so hangry, Jackson. He moves in, trying to get a little bit of damage. Clash was able to take the mid there. Net tried to contest that, but Clash just, no offensive items. He's just going to stand his ground and take that mid away from you.
Yeah, it's pretty tough playing Arden into Grace, pretty much no matter what. If you're going for a camp, the Grace is in a much better position to take it. Has 3 things, I guess, that are actually good at executing a camp, versus, I guess, just Vanguard and Blood for Blood. Talking about the lane for a second, Tetno is doing a pretty good job of farming, but notably Sneaky is doing a much better job. And that's actually kind of surprising given the amount of fighting that's been going on, and the fact that Sneaky had actually, I believe, rotated down earlier on to apply a bit of pressure. So yeah, it's definitely not the best situation for Fnatic right now. Tetno's trying to shove this wave into the turret, nigh at least a couple of farm, but the turret hits the wrong minion for that to work out. He doesn't miss anything.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind, seeing one of these games where we see Tetno actually rotate through a jungle or two with Palm, like get a little extra gold on this Vox. And one of the things I'm looking for in these fights, though, Jackson, is this Hellfire Brew. We don't see this all the time. If you get just a reflex block and you can just block that off, it can make the Ringo really feel kind of useless. But if that does come through, if they force out some blocks, maybe with the stuffed coming out of Grumpjaw, maybe a Holy Nova forces out like a Crucible or something, and that Hellfire Brew comes through, it's such a win or a loss. Like if that connects, huge damage. If it gets blocked off, it's just really nothing.
Yeah, it depends a little bit on what build Sneaky's going for. There was a push for an alternating current first build a while ago, and if Sneaky goes that direction, he'll still do kind of respectable but nothing crazy damage in the early to mid game. It's really later on when you're throwing out those big Hellfire Brews that things get good, though. You probably want to have an Echo. The thing that's tough about Crystal Ringo, he does go for the alternating current, by the way. The thing that's tough about Crystal Ringo is that for him to be good, he really needs either 2 items or 5, right? Like he either needs alternating current and like a Shatter Glass. That's kind of his first big spike.
Which I hope he does.
But, yeah, or you need to have alternating current, Shatter Glass, Echo, Clockwork, Broken Mirror, something like you need to have.
See, that's why I love CP Ringo. You're like, I'll take one of every CP item. Just okay, now we can fight. Palma getting lit up. The Ordain fights the stun under the Grumpjaw. They turn around some Bad Mojo. Nets in with the Blood for Blood. Tetno. Does he smell blood? Tetno thinking about getting in there, and he's like, nah, dude. I've got a couple last hits here, team. We're gonna pull back and make sure I get my farm.
Yeah, that was close though. If Joker had actually landed an ult, maybe he could get better for Salty Potatoes. Also, Sneaky did a basic attack, I think, an enemy hero once that fight, which does speak volumes about Grace and Grumpjaw. I'll let you draw your own conclusions from that.
Class uses Fountain, still gets melted down. A little bit surprising. I think Palmatoro just kind of empowered there. The Bad Mojo connected a little bit harder than Class expected.
Yeah, Class overreaching a little bit there. I didn't catch if Palma actually had his pump, but like his heroic perk. Joker, this is not a play you want to make. Bit risky. All right, good. Things have reset. So yeah, the weird thing about Crystal Ringo is that anything in between those two extremes is just not very good, because it's at the point where if you go for an Echo, you don't have enough damage. Don't go for an Echo, they have a reflex block for every health bar below. Right? Like, it's just, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. But it does have, you know, a reasonable spike early on when you get the AC and Shadow Glass, mostly because you kind of expect your teammate to be able to pop reflex blocks. So you're still, like, maybe a 60% favorite to be able to land one of your health arbors.
You know what I like about it, Jackson, is if played correctly, Sneaky should have range advantage constantly over Techno, and that's kind of one of the deals where it's like a counter into the Vox. Wait for it, actually gonna silence too, but Fnatic not following through with it. But because you're getting this crystal power, your Achilles shot doing a lot more. You can see him maxing out that Achilles right now, and you just pop that onto Techno. It's really good harass damage. Your range is a little bit further, but of course, if that gap gets closed, you're very vulnerable. All right, now it's Fnatic as 3. The flare is out. Sneaky Class. They know what's going on. Fnatic just kind of poking, maybe waiting for Grumpjaw to move up from the jungle, but he's nowhere to be seen.
This is interesting. One thing we're starting to see more and more of is that Salty Potatoes has really terrible wave clear. So they're constantly pushed back. It's forcing Joker to try and find a play when maybe it's not the best moment. This is tough. This is really tough.
A lot of good farm coming out here for both laners. 97 last hits for Sneaky. Techno sitting on 90 at this point. Not really like hyper farm coming out of either, but they're keeping up exactly where they need to be. A lot of bad mojos just being spammed from Palma out of this right brush, and Joker just hanging back on the backside of that range. You could tell he's not really ready to fight yet. Is he waiting for something, like as far as items, levels, or just waiting for the proper engage?
I think he's probably waiting for items. I think he really needs to pick up one more to be at critical mass. It's definitely a thing that Sneaky needs to have too, because, as I said earlier on, you're either hitting 2 items or you're hitting 5, and that's when he's strong. On the other side of the court here, though, I definitely feel like Fnatic is pretty close to good to go. Palma getting his second item is probably the next big thing. Clockwork is such a strong power spike for a Batiste, but Techno's already there. Like, he can already do some serious work.
You know what I really like, actually, about the CP Ringo in general, is like the idea that the ultimate pierces through all shield. It's 100% pierce. It's a huge deal. So if you buy shield against that, it's not as effective. So a lot of times people won't build as much shield for that. We might see him itemize more armor for Joker. But the Joker actually has a lot of crystal power that comes out of his A as well, naturally built in. And if they're not building shield, then still the basics, when Twirling Silver is up, will do a lot of damage with the AC. It leaves like this strategical window open to apply a lot of crystal power.
That is a very good point. We'll see what he goes for. Interesting. He went for Broken Myth second. That actually... Okay, so I was thinking Shatterglass second was like an obvious choice, but Broken Myth actually might make more sense with this comp. The reason being that Class can really keep these fights going for a long time, as can the Joker. And once Broken Myth, I don't know if you guys caught Excounderal's video a while ago where he did the math on Broken Myth versus Shatterglass, but yeah, it does break even against Shatterglass at a... I don't remember how many stacks it was. I'm gonna have to go back and watch. I'm gonna have to do some revision for my test. But it does break even at a video. And I think Sneaky reasonably will hit that point, even if it's, you know, pretty extreme.
Oh, I think he will. The damage that's coming out, the flat damage that's coming out of the Achilles shot, the Hellfire Brew, it's pretty significant. You get that buffed up, that's a lot of damage coming out here.
All right, Clockwork now on Batiste. Let's see what happens. Salty Potato is moving very aggressively at perhaps just the wrong moment. I'm actually a little surprised Fnatic didn't pull the trigger, and then holding this gauntlet in a very disciplined way. He's already got the Fountain and Crucible, so by the way, let's keep our eyes on that Toilette, see what third item he goes for. Would not be unreasonable to see an Echo, I think.
I think that would be pretty clean.
Having that to extend your sort of influence area, you know, your area of effect, to really mess with Sneaky's long-range plays is pretty big. It's also obviously great if you can gauntlet him during a channel of his ultimate.
I think also Null Wave could be a cool item pickup as well, because they definitely want to block off that Fearsome Shade. You have the Gauntlet, the Ordained, the Wait for It, all those things to think about. That's a bit of a Crucible coming out there.
That does open up maybe a window for Sneaky to think about going for the ult. I mean, everyone has their own reflex block except for Net, but he could just hit Net and have this one.
Well, this is super patient play coming out. These guys were having some fun in the lobby chat. Sneaky said, "First time CP Ringo." I doubt that.
I doubt that very much. I mean, I also said first time caster, so I mean, not everything you see in in-game lobby chat is legit. Wow. Okay. Tetno just bought a Crucible. I like it. I like it a lot, actually. I mean, as you said, Shield Pierce is 100% on the Hellfire Brew. So getting Aegis only does so much. Why not just help out your team with your upgrade?
Yeah, plus the health that he's going to be getting as well, that's going to help him out a lot. That's a cool item pickup. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if Shield doesn't do anything, health does more.
Yeah.
So it really is like a smart adaptation here. We don't see a lot of Crystal Ringo, but I think that, no, this is something I might do against Crystal Ringo. A lot of sense.
Well, absolutely. And, you know, I don't know. Maybe this is something he has planned out that's just, boom, it's in his toolkit. But also, there's a good chance he's just adapting on the fly. Fnatic showing that they've been playing a whole bunch of high-level Vainglory. I think, you know, when this roster was just first put together, everybody had really high expectations. And they kind of hit windows where they start to perform at the level that people expect. And, you know, they dialed back a little bit. I think they had school, other things going on. But right now, they're in a great position, I think, especially going into Split 2, to really live up to all of those expectations.
Absolutely. It's interesting, by the way, how slowly this game is going. Both teams have good engage. They're just not really committing to fights yet. Here we go with
the Atlas Pauldron. They're going to move in the Joker. He's actually stuffed up. He got the Batiste. Palma Toro. The Gauntlet is down. Tetno kiting back. Hellfire Brew is going to be blocked off. Palma trading Fearsome Shade into the wall. Joker, nowhere to run, nowhere to go. The bouncing attacks almost take him down, but they live through it. The fountains coming out of both these teams, keeping them alive. That was a curious engage that just came out of nowhere. And Sneaky class, they are onto this turret. Tetno, they keep me shot against the Vanguard. With a Sonic Zoom back, he'll stay alive. But it leaves the opening for the Potatoes to get in there and get their first turret.
Wow, that fight was definitely advantage to Salty Potatoes, though. Looking at it, I think it's worth noting that even with Reflex Block landing onto the Hellfire Brew, it still wasn't, it still wasn't enough for Fnatic to have the edge there. And also Tetno got 11 stacks of Breaking Point, but couldn't chase into Sneaky. So the damage on the two items that were there in that fight, the Broken Myth and the AC, seems to be doing a lot more work than maybe I would have anticipated it does. Fnatic are struggling to find a good window.
Yeah, I love it, especially the idea, once again, you are abusing the range factor of Vox. He doesn't really have, he's a ranged hero, he doesn't have long range though, and Sneaky, he just pops him with that Achilles shot, and suddenly Tetno has to completely rethink, like, even if he has those breaking points, in a perfect world, if he wasn't slowed, he can move in and just take him out, but constantly having those up, having that slow coming out, a little bit of chip burst damage, it's something that they're respecting. It's really cool the way it's playing out right now. But Fnatic, they are up in the lane as 3. They saw Sneaky port back, and it looks like they're going to try and shove the lane here. This could be turret going the way of Fnatic if they play this properly. We'll see if they're going to show some patience here. Nice bad mojo coming in. Grace on the front side of this fight. Applied the Atlas... No, actually didn't get the Atlas Pauldron applied off, but that was the attempt by Class there.
I think that Fnatic are giving a little bit too much respect to the Achilles shot, though. I mean, yes, the slow is good. In fact, yesterday, Humanist, you and I were talking about how good slows are into Vox and Batiste because of their kind of weird middling range. But ultimately, Batiste's bad mojo just crushes Sneaky in a trade if he commits to moving forward. So if you do that and you force the engage, you have the ability to back up. You have 2 Crucibles on the team, as well as your own reflex block. Just make Salty Potatoes burn things, and so long as you land good reflex blocks, I think you're fine. Fearsome Shade is a great disengage tool too. But Palma isn't really landing a lot of bad mojos. I notice him walking up and throwing them out when he's just out of range of them ever hitting. Because you can tell he's a little bit too scared, and then he gets Achilles shot, but he's like already out of range. So I think that's what he's respecting right now. Just, I mean, it's not necessarily wrong, but I don't think it's how you win this game.
Well, Fnatic, they walk up towards the lane immediately. Boom, Achilles shot onto net as he's the front line for this team. Techno gets hit with it. Grumpy, they're moving forward. We're going to see if he tries to use that stuffed up. A lot of damage coming out. The Holy Nova doesn't quite connect. Hellfire Brew blocked off as well. Gauntlets down, Class feared up. They lose the Joker, and this is going to be Class left for dead. Sneaky will survive through this, but a huge win for Fnatic. As they take 2, they don't lose anybody. This should be turret going down, maybe like a half a jungle as well.
See, that fight, I think, is a much better illustration of how these fights should go. I feel like Salty Potatoes don't do very much if Fnatic use all of their abilities and items properly. Until Sneaky hits Echo. It's a different story later on. Maybe also a second monocle on Joker is influential here, but that's going to be a Kraken picked up. A Sneaky Achilles shot.
Sneaky!
Close, man. That was darn close. Regardless,
he needs that Echo, right?
Yeah, he really does. I mean, you saw it there. They were able to save Crucible for it, and still not be under significant threat from Stuffed, and still not be under significant threat from the Holy Nova, because you just walk away from it. It's too easy. The setup is not good enough unless Salty Potatoes is very snappily engaging and kind of forcing a weird staggering of things from Fnatic. Let's see how Fnatic does with this push, though.
Well, Salty picked up a heavy Prism. He's not going into Echo. We'll see what he does decide to do here. This is Fnatic looking to have a successful push, doing pretty good so far. Bad Mojo's connecting. Palmatoro ramped up with that damage. Gauntlets down. They've stunned Sneaky, but the Holy Nova disengaged from Class. Atlas Pauldron blocked off as well. There's your Fearsome Shade. Hellfire Brew blocked off. A lot of blocks coming out. I mean, of course, double Crucible plus the Reflex, you'd expect it. Wait for it, comes through. Silence up on to just our Grumpjaw here. Ordain's down on a Sneaky. He doesn't have a block. They should jump in. Oh, but Sneaky turns it out. Sneaky has the damage. Stands his ground. And the Kraken's going to be falling very shortly. They should just abandon this Kraken, jump forward. There you go. Benediction into Netwet. Techno, he tries to jump forward onto Sneaky. Sneaky needs to stay at range, but they just use the Stuffed. They just eat that Vox up, take him to the Crystal Sentry, and feed that Crystal Sentry a little delicious Techno JJ snack. The favorite of the Crystal Sentry is Netwet on the run, continues to move, but you have the Achilles shot. Oh, he doesn't have the energy. Twirling Silver, can he chase him down? Class moves in Benediction, but what a Crucible, what calculations from the nicest toilet we've ever known. Salty Potatoes don't care. They don't need a minion wave. They're going to take down the turret off the back of that fight. Jackson, break it down, dude. Who came out on top?
Well, Salty Potatoes came out firmly on top. Sadly, it was just a huge misplay by Fnatic, though. They could have continued playing the attrition game. They could have backed up, taken Sentry, taken Jungle. Instead, Baptiste went for the Ordain onto Sneaky, and if there was no Grace on the enemy team, that play is probably fine. But Grace just counters that. I mean, against a lot of compositions, again, under a turret, one thing that can work if you have any kind of CC is just piling on, killing that person so quickly that it's a 2 versus 3. And, you know, meanwhile, Kraken's killing the turret. Yeah, you maybe trade, but you end up on top in objectives. If you're against a Grace and she has ultimate, there's no way that play ever works, because you can't kill the person quickly. I mean, think about the burst damage that's coming out from the side of Fnatic. Techno does not offer a ton before breaking point stacks up.
Yeah.
And Palma, this late into the game against an Aegis, is mitigated somewhat. So, really poor decision-making from Fnatic. They get punished for it very heavily, too. It's a big gold lead, actually. Salty Potatoes. I still think they're behind, just because I don't think Sneaky has hit his second power spike here.
Oh, well, I'm very curious to see what his last item is. What he's going to build into here. He did choose to finish out the Halcyon Chargers and pick up a fresh infusion with his last set of money at the shop. He's incredibly strong right now if they do stay at range. But that last item, that fourth item, is going to be the really defining factor for me.
It's pretty interesting that he's probably going for Shatterglass. I don't know. It's just like taking a wager. Well, Fnatic are not responding to this Kraken. I don't know about that. That was weird.
That's 500 gold. They're just biding their time.
I don't know. I don't know about that. The thing is, like, Kraken can force you into positions where it's very easy for Sneaky to get good ultimates. Because if you're forcing a fight with Clast and Joker and Kraken, and the Sneaky just playing on the periphery, there's a much greater there's greater stakes, right? Like you have to respect, Joker taking one of your teammates off the board because then Kraken's getting much more damage down on your turret, etc. It forces you to do things you ordinarily wouldn't, which Sneaky could benefit from.
All right, well, Sneaky. He's been showing great patience thus far in the game, staying at range, using Hellfire Brew only when he's safe. Right now, just holding that big ultimate. As Fnatic know, they have to make this defense. They really, really need this win here. They want to close out this series in this game. Gauntlet's down, and they're just going to try to start chunking through Kraken. They're going to block off that Hellfire Brew as they blocked off the last, well, I think every single one. I think he's thrown like 4 this game in 20 minutes.
Man, it's pretty crazy that at this late stage of the game, so it's like a 45-second cooldown for Sneaky, and it did less than a fifth, like maybe a sixth, of their carry's health with 3 tier 3 offensive items. This is the real problem with the pickup of the Crystal Ringo. I would like to see him just sell the Aegis and buy Echo.
Yeah,
I don't think
what I think it would be, so like if he just throws a Hellfire Brew, he has an Echo, he can start the fight with Hellfire Brew. They have to block it, and then that's one of their blocks burned. And then like what are you gonna do?
Nothing. Plus it sets up, this is maybe a bit counterintuitive, but it's not the end of the world if you Hellfire Brew, it gets blocked, and then you time your stuffed right off the back of it, and then ult again.
Exactly.
That's fine. At least you landed the stuffed. At least you're 2 versus 3 for a while. But returning to the state of the game. Oh no, no way. They're not going to backdoor, are they?
Potatoes.
I don't think they can.
No, they just got the flank position.
Okay.
Salty Potatoes with the superior positioning. They have Fnatic split apart. They move in with the Grumpy the Benediction as well. Holy Nova. It's going to connect onto net.
Oh, it lands!
Hellfire Brews burning down upon the top. Hellfire Brew to burn all Hellfire Brews. Techno JJ should be falling shortly as well. Grace with the divine intervention, keeping herself alive. And look at this. Salty Potatoes, they know better than everybody in Twitch chat. When everybody was against the CP Ringo, Sneaky said, I've never played it. It doesn't matter. It's that strong. I come in here, down in the series, to take this victory.
You know what really upsets me, though? This is a pick which can do nothing all game, and then land one ultimate because of a mistake from their opponents.
It's so good.
It's insane.
But that's very strong, though. Because, while it can feel weak for a long time, like, whenever our analysts talk about games, and they're like, yeah, ultimately, it just takes one mistake from their opponent, and they're gonna win. Like, I'd like to have that kind of draft a lot of time.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I like the ultimately pun there, by the way. I don't know if that was intended. Really strong stuff, though, from Salty Potatoes overall. They played to the comp. There was a lot of patience, like you were saying.
All right, well, a fun game indeed. This series is tied up, ladies and gentlemen, so to see what's going to happen.